Okay, so let's talk hypothetically. Maybe COVID came along and the pools all shut down and you just kind of fell out of the swing of swimming, and perhaps you sort of struggled to get back into it a little bit. And perhaps now you're thinking, oh, maybe I'll leave it to the new year, and you're wondering, oh, how can I get back into swimming and make life a little bit more easily for myself? I'm smirking because I know I've spoken to a few athletes, and I know this is definitely true for some who have perhaps fallen off the wagon a little bit, and the pools requiring you to book individual hours, etc., has all made it a little bit more complicated. Pools are busy because there's fewer lanes, etc., etc. Anyway, so here are our top tips basically for getting yourself back into swimming. I think firstly, when you do manage to drag yourself to the pool, just accept that it's your first session and it's probably going to be a bit shambolic and it's going to be a struggle. You might be a little bit all over the place. Your arms might not feel properly attached or whatever, but just see it as a stepping stone. And when you go for the first time, don't put any pressure on yourself. Don't suddenly be expecting to hit kind of your normal average pace per 100, etc. But one thing that can help with that first session and beyond is just focusing in on your breathing. So this advice we give pretty regularly, to be fair. The same goes for when you're dealing with nerves before a race. Just focusing in on your breathing. So when you first get into that water and your head is submerged, just exhaling forcefully through your nose, taking a quick breath when you turn to breathe, and just focusing on that kind of mechanical process of exhaling and then inhaling when you turn to breathe. It might sound a little bit silly, but just kind of drawing your mind to the front and focusing on the here and now. It's a really good way of dissipating any anxiety that you might feel, and it's also a really good way of getting into a rhythm, because ultimately swimming is all about rhythm. Okay, so first top tip, when you first go, and for basically whenever you first start swimming, really, when you're doing your warm-up, if perhaps you're focusing on other things, you've got a bit of stress in your life, just hone in on your breathing. And it's important to accept as well that before you start cracking on into the technique work, you might have to develop a certain level of fitness, because a lot of form can actually come from just being that little bit fitter. So I would spend a few weeks just getting back in the pool and building up a certain base level of fitness before you start to hone in on the technique stuff. And don't be afraid to use fins. So we're not talking those big scuba fins, but the sort of snub-nosed training fins. If you're struggling for propulsion and you want to focus in on the front end of your stroke, don't be afraid to throw fins in. It can just take some of the pressure off it, particularly if you're trying to hone a stroke and you perhaps don't yet have the power and the fitness to be able to do it under your own steam. So yeah, don't be afraid to throw in little aids like that, particularly as you're getting back up to speed. And then also just remember, when it comes to your training, say you're a few steps further down the line and you're looking to build back up to kind of race fitness, just remember that swimming needs to be trained in much the same way as running and cycling. So by that I mean, not every single session should just be up and down at low intensity, just trawling through the base mileage. You have to train your different energy systems, or train the different training zones, much in the same as cycling or running, which means you need to train at different paces. And that kind of leads on to the final few points. And that's to make sure that every single one of your sessions, right from the start, even if your first session is just the stepping stone about getting back into the water, that's a clear purpose. And just make sure every time you go to the pool, you have a very clear idea of why you're there, because that will help with your motivation. That will help with consistency. Largely, people will kind of pack things in because they lose sight of why they're doing something, and they just lose motivation. So yes, plenty of low intensity base mileage is important, particularly if you're building up to Ironman, etc. But make sure not every single session is like that. So you throw in sprints, do sessions that are focused on improving your aerobic threshold. Um, do race pace sessions, do recovery on the move sessions where you do a hard burst, but your recovery isn't just at the end of the lane. If you need help with that, of course, we're always here. In particular, our RIAK online swim sets, our coach brief sets, can be particularly useful, particularly if you're looking to develop your technique. But otherwise, drop us an email. You need any more hints and tips, just give us a shout. But good luck, and stay strong and keep at it.